Ever since 9/11, people have been asking, how could the atrocities of that horrible day have been prevented? Why didn't we see it coming? In a desert 8,000 miles from home, American troops think they found the answer. I'm Aaron Silverston. This is my partner, Najla Benbarak. Welcome to the Horn of Africa. It's one of the least hospitable regions of the planet, unless, of course, you're a terrorist organization, in which case you couldn't find a better place to capitalize on poverty, desperation, and hopelessness. And that's why, here in Djibouti, right in the middle of it all, you'll find the only U.S. military base in Africa, Camp Lemonnier. Take a look at this map. Zoom out from Djibouti. To the west, Ethiopia, plagued with its worst drought in 20 years. West of that, Sudan, Osama bin Laden's old stomping ground and his proclaimed new home for Islamic Jihad. Across the Gulf of Aden, Yemen, where a Predator missile fired by the CIA from Djibouti took out a house of suspected al-Qaeda militants. And to the south, Somalia, presently being taken over by Islamic fundamentalists, some of whom are allegedly tied to, big surprise, al-Qaeda. Now it's up to the troops at Camp Lemonnier, known collectively as the Combined Joint Task Force Horn of Africa, or CJTF-HOA, to form the leading edge of a new and different war.
Ready? Hi, welcome to Camp Lemonnier. I'm First Lieutenant Omar Villarreal with Combined Joint Task Force Horn of Africa here in Djibouti.
Omar, a 24-year-old Texan, has been stationed in Djibouti since June. Like most people here, he'll be rotated out before the year ends.
You can describe Camp Lemonnier as a small town. We have over 1,500 service members, civilian forces, as well as, I said civilian forces. On base we have a chapel, a gym, chow hall, living units, military wellness, recreation facilities, green bean coffee shop. We have base exchange, which is kind of like a little Walmart where you can buy your novelties. We have a swimming pool.
And they also have this black flag, which goes up almost every morning when the temperature crosses the 90-degree mark. It's a warning to the troops that it's too dangerous to exercise. On this day, it was about 105 degrees, and the black flag went up at 8 in the morning. But that didn't stop Colonel Jerry Fisher, the base commander, from going for a jog.
It's probably the single most strategic place on the entire globe when you think that it's the third busiest waterway right outside our coast. 30% of the world's commerce transit the Straits of Aden. Outside of Djibouti, there are just thousands of square miles of ungoverned space. A lot of people live in crushing poverty, and it's those conditions that al-Qaeda and associated movements can use to exploit their message.
Camp Lemonnier is actually a former French Foreign Legion base that was handed over to the U.S. after 9/11. Now that it's home to CJTF-HOA, the Pentagon says the operation is a model for what the future of U.S. forces might look like. It's small, it's portable, and it's on the front lines of the war on terror.
We're going to visit Dikil, Djibouti. That's where we're going to visit some Seabees. And what they're doing over there is they're building a new dormitory for a school that's nearby. This way, some of the kids, they have a chance to be able to, attend school.
So I noticed you're packing heat there, buddy.
Just in case.
In case what?
You never know. So to be safe. It's better to be prepared than unprepared.
In 3 years, CJTF-HOA has built schools, clinics, and water wells, provided medical and veterinary training and care, and trained armies in Ethiopia, Kenya, Djibouti, Yemen, and Eritrea. It's all part of their philosophy that America will be a safer place if the Horn of Africa becomes stable and secure. Analysts call this soft power. The Pentagon calls it waging peace. We like to call it Peace Corps with guns.
Good up there? Oh, good. Yep.
We're on our way to Dikil, where the Navy Seabees are building a school dorm. This team just came from building homes in Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina. Now they're in the 120-degree East African heat.
I'm James Penny, UT1 Penny. I'm with the United States Seabees. This is the main building right here. It'll have the girls' dorm, the food area, In the boys area, it's cut in 3 sections. And
So
we'll show you
this
that
is
on
what
the
soft
inside.
power looks like.
This is the boys.
The U.S. military imported everything here, from the prefabricated walls and white latex paint to the electric drills and ladders. But from the Pentagon's viewpoint, none of this can happen without the protection of armed guards. Army Sergeant Pete Robledo is in charge of keeping the CBs safe.
I got 3 teams. Make sure no one's like, coming through the wire or messing in or coming in trying to steal anything and stuff like that.
So you got 2 different kinds of wars going on. You're sort of waging peace and you're waging war. You got Iraq, and this is kind of in many ways like the polar opposite.
Exactly, yes.
Which one do you think is working better?
Well, it's not so much what's working better, but being here doing this mission now, we're hopefully preventing an Iraq happening here in Africa, which is kind of weird for all of us because we're war fighters. We're trying to fight. Tip of the spear. We're here to, technically you could say we're here putting ourselves out of a job.
The question is, are the locals as happy with Americans as everyone thinks they are? We drive downtown to find out.
Qu'est-ce que vous pensez du projet de construire ce bout d'école?
C'est une bonne chose pour nous, surtout pour la région de Berkeley. Nous, on est satisfaits.
Et vous avez donc des contacts avec eux? Vous venez les voir, vous leur parlez?
Jusqu'à présent, on n'a pas de contact. Et ils sont militaires, nous, on est des civils. Comme il y a les problèmes entre, comment dirais-je, je crois qu'eux, ils n'ont pas confiance avec les peuples.
Qu'est-ce qui vous fait croire qu'ils n'ont pas confiance en les gens d'ici?
Ils sont des militaires, ils sont armés. Donc nous, avec les militaires armés, on ne peut pas s'approcher.
Mais vous ne croyez pas que s'ils n'avaient pas confiance en vous, ils ne seraient pas venus ici faire des projets?
Oui, mais ici, là, où ils ont construit l'école, il y a des gardiens, tout ça, armés. Donc comment on peut pénétrer là-bas?
We've all heard the phrase hearts and minds. To some, it's the most important diplomatic strategy in the war on terror. To others, it evokes cynicism, a memory of America's failure in Vietnam. But regardless of what you think, one thing is clear: making people love you isn't easy. But that's exactly what Lieutenant Steve Mcknight is trying to do.
We arrive here, take a 360-degree snapshot. It's just, regular Joes off the street and think to ourselves, wow, this place really has a chance.
Steve Mcknight is a Florida high school teacher and Army reservist leading a civil affairs team in Djibouti. If the Army is the tip of the spear, Steve is kind of the bringer of the olive branch.
I think the challenge for us is to not view ourselves as problem solvers and fixers, but to come in here and do our best to be listeners and try to understand and find out if there's a contribution that we can make, if there's a role that we can play within the framework of local solutions to local problems.
Sergeant Kyler.
Steve's civil affairs team pulled into this remote school in Djibouti City to talk to the school's director about how America might offer assistance.
We're going to speak with the school director as soon as we get our interpreter in here.
But the director didn't wait.
So the director of the school is saying that there's almost 1,900 students in the school, and that since 1986 it hasn't been renovated. So some classrooms are in a really, really bad state, and the ceilings are almost falling on the students.
Depuis 1986, on n'a pas touché aux lampes, aux rhéostats, aux cadres aussi, aux réglettes. On va voir, même le toit, les oiseaux sont dedans.
The director knows that there's no guarantee Americans will help him, and he's been burned in the past.
Moi j'ai une question. Une question. Une question. Moi c'est ce que j'espérais. On m'a dit qu'il y aura l'habilitation, la réhabilitation. Donc est-ce que vous la ferez? La réponse, la réponse maintenant. C'est après avoir vu la classe. Vous savez pourquoi je pose la question?
Non,
c'est que déjà,
je vais même donner une réponse maintenant.
l'UNICEF est venu nous voir.
Ouais, c'est ça.
Les Américains sont venus nous voir. Les Français sont venus nous voir. En nous parlant des écoles. Donc, ça nous donne les problèmes. On espère vraiment qu'il y a des actions.
Je vais vous donner des on ne peut pas vous promettre qu'on va faire quelque chose, ok?
Covered again. Hey.
This classroom is in bad shape and in desperate need of repair.
Les lampes, il y a certaines qui ne marchent pas, d'autres qui marchent, donc il n'y a pas de lumière.
The bathrooms are also in atrocious condition.
Believe it or not, we've actually even seen worse than this, but you can see how this can be a deterrent for school attendance.
After joining the Navy as a teenager, Steve took a 16-year break from the military before becoming an officer.
I think when my father passed away, I struggled for a few years to figure out how I wanted to reach closure with him and honor him. And I thought that, well, if I went back in and pursued a commission, and went to where he was buried and saluted him, that would be meaningful for me, and it would be a way to say goodbye. So I did that, and then the minute after I saluted him, I did an about face, and I said, Jesus, I'm in the military. What do I do now? Sitting not a mile from where we are right now, there are children who haven't had the caloric intake all week that we just had at the chow hall. That's if you're rich and you're strong and you have the capacity to do something, why not do something?
Down the street from Camp Lemonnier, an orphanage houses girls who've lost their parents to civil war, AIDS, and abandonment. Today, a U.S. Air Force band plays American hits for the girls. When the band finishes, the girls bring us outside, where they throw an impromptu dance party with a much more contemporary beat. The girls want to show Najla their room upstairs, maybe because she also speaks French and Arabic, or perhaps because, like them, she's a Muslim woman. American hip-hop artist Chris Brown is on the TV. On the other side of the room, the girls' lockers. Many names we recognized, many we did not. But there was one name we definitely weren't expecting to see here.
Au lieu de mettre Allahu Akbar, tu mets Oussama? Oui. Pourquoi? Tu préfères quelqu'un qui tue des autres blancs au lieu de mettre Allahu Akbar? Non, il n'a pas tué des autres. Ah bon? Il n'a pas tué 5000 personnes? Non, non. Il n'a pas tué plein de gens partout dans le monde? Non, non. Tu préfères mieux mettre Allahu Akbar que Oussama?
When the girl told Najla she'd erase Osama's name from her locker, she was probably just trying to please her new friend. If only it were that easy.
Wars are started based on ignorance. I would venture to guess that the guys who flew planes into the World Trade Center towers probably didn't have a whole lot of perspective.
How do you give hope to people? I think you do it by, influencing economies, providing jobs, providing a place for people to go to school. I think we can have success because I think there's something about the human condition that is hopeful.
In the Horn of Africa, the conflict we fear has yet to happen. If it does, and our troops here have to pick up their guns and fight, the mission will have failed. Knowing that we've won will be much more difficult.
It's 6 a.m. and we're somewhere in the South China Sea, hundreds of miles from anything resembling a war. But we didn't come here to see the front lines. We came to see how most of the Navy spends its time.
Course 231.
Not on aircraft carriers, but on smaller ships like the USS Tortuga.
Okay, first batch coming down.
The Tortuga shuttles equipment and Marines around Asia and spends 2/3 of its time at sea. 350 sailors call this place home. And for 9 days, so did we.
Okay, ready? So we're going to the 5th floor.
One of the first things we have to get used to are the drills. They happen almost every day.
We're in the middle of an exercise of man overboard, and we're supposed to report to an office.
This is the biggest of the drills. It's called GQ, or General Quarters, and it involves everyone on the ship.
Chatel! And ready. Chatel! Chatel! Answer me!
This is where we meet John, one of the 3 sailors we end up spending most of our time with.
Here!
He's 24, one of the youngest officers on the ship.
Has anyone responded to the fire? Before you can leave, get a helmet. Miss Gilbert, you need to be proactive.
They didn't give me one last time.
An hour later, it's clear the fire drill didn't exactly go as planned.
When it comes to saving lives, it's a big deal. And I don't tolerate any fooling around or any f***ing horse from you guys. We have no motivation, complete lackadaisical attitude, and people not knowing what the hell is going on. It's unsafe.
It's very difficult coming in, and the way they see it, they see this young college punk that comes in, and all of a sudden he's your boss.
Ask questions. Don't give people attitudes. This is all about saving lives.
I have to exude confidence at any and all times, because if I don't, my guys will see weakness.
Standing watch? I don't care.
The bubblicious. When John's off duty, he's kind of a different person.
I don't find bubblicious very good for blowing bubbles, though.
X squared plus Y squared.
He went to one of the country's top military academies and got a degree in math, so he loves to talk about numbers.
So I got when I was a senior in college, just because it's my favorite number.
Skip out on the veggies? Yeah, I would too. We won't tell your mother though. Alright.
This is where we meet Mike.
I'll eat veggies tomorrow.
He's only been on the ship for 6 months, and he's in the middle of what's called cranking.
Enjoy.
It's an initiation of sorts for new sailors. 90 days of serving food, doing dishes,
Good, man. Appreciate it.
and cleaning up after everyone else.
It's my documentary.
Anything you want to say about him? Anything you should know?
He's really hot. No, I don't know. He's a cool guy.
Alright.
He doesn't work hard, but he's cool.
Don't pay attention to him. He shaved his eyebrow. If I didn't join the Navy, I would be in Pennsylvania doing the same thing I did every other day. I was just like, where's the party at? Where's the party at? Where's the party at? And just realized that I wanted to get out and do something. I wanted to be somebody.
That's Noelle. We meet her on the smoke deck, one of the most popular and loudest spots on the ship. Noelle is a deck seaman, which means she does a little bit of everything. She's also one of the lowest ranking and worst paid people on the ship. And like most of the enlisted, she joined straight out of high school.
I decided that it would be best if I just got away from my family and I'd have money for college. And I was thinking what I wanted to do. I never would have thought in a million years I would join the Navy. Woohoo! Thank you.
At 21, Noelle's already been here 3 years, so she's seen a little bit of everything on the ship they call the Turtle.
What really goes down on the Turtle?
Wow. Better question, what doesn't go on the Turtle?
Welcome to Days of Our Tortuga.
In the shower.
Oh, it's as the ship turns.
Yeah, as the ship turns. Are we decent? Everybody dressed?
Everybody dressed? Yeah, what's up?
Women aren't normally allowed in here, but we get a special tour.
Hey, Cujo, get the pop.
Shit's out. Man, stop being people want to see. Say hi. You're on TV. Like, this is like Mike's spot. This is my oasis. You know, I get in my rack and shut my curtains. You know, turn off my light and I just chill. See, I could just sit right in there like that and just kind of like shut off from everybody. So it's kind of nice.
Do you decorate it at all?
I had pictures all over, but I took them down. You know, there's only so much you can do. Like when you're in there and the lights are off, you can close your eyes. As long as you don't touch anything, you can almost think that you're home. But, you know, sharp fact of reality. And once you wake up, you know, you got this. So I've stopped trying to pretend that it's home.
One floor up, we get a peek at how the officers live.
These were my 3 roommates. He's in Baghdad right now. He's in graduate school.
That's John at VMI, the Virginia Military Institute. What are you wearing? He went there for college and graduated from an all-male military high school before that. But that wasn't entirely his choice.
My parents signed me up and took me there, dropped me off, drove away. That's pretty much how it went.
Did you want to go?
No. But I mean, there really wasn't much I could do. They said, you're going. I said, I don't want to. They said, too bad. I said, okay.
Most of the ship is still asleep. But at any hour, someone's day is ending and another person's is just beginning. Noelle's day begins with watch, looking out for ships the Tortuga's radars may have missed.
How do you feel right now? I'm exhausted. I feel like I need a cup of coffee, but...
She still has 12 more hours to go.
You guys can't wait.
And sometimes, she's asked to do some pretty random things.
There's supposed to be 3 boxes of meat coming. See if this on his way.
3 boxes of meat? Yeah. Chief wants to know about the 3 boxes of meat. Chief wants to know about the 3 boxes of meat that's supposed to be being brought down.
Go see CS3 Williams.
CS3 Williams?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, never mind. You answered my question about the 3 boxes of meat coming up.
Filipino report, 12 ship. This is motor vessel Tortuga.
Up on the bridge, John the officer is getting ready for a counter-terrorism exercise.
7-4. Philippine Navy ship, patrol craft 3.
Today, the Tortuga and the Filipino Navy are playing an elaborate game of hide-and-seek.
Where?
That was a Filipino aircraft trying to track us down.
I still don't see it.
They're on our tails because the Tortuga is pretending to be a rogue ship. And John has a crucial role to play.
My name is Rick James. I am the master of the ship.
So you give the orders?
I do give the orders. I am in top command of the ship.
2 hours later, the Filipinos finally arrive. Take away the guns and wetsuits, and this is like a big treasure hunt. The Filipinos have to find 5 guys, including John, hidden somewhere on the ship. There were a few helpful clues, like these arrows taped to the floor.
Diam na yan, ayan. Diam na. Dito. Who's the master of the chief? Who's the captain?
Minutes later, the game is over.
Thank you, guys.
This is the climax of a six-nation exercise.
That was excellent. Great job.
The Navy does over 100 of these exercises a year in Asia alone. Some are geared towards fighting terrorism, but most are not.
Some days I don't see how what we're doing can possibly contribute. We're not on the front lines, we're not combating terrorists, we're not trying to hunt down anybody. But not everybody can do that. Somebody has to be making peaceful relations with the governments of the area. And that's what we do.
But that day, most people on board were way more worried about something else.
What's going on right now? We're getting ready for flight quarters because the Admiral's coming on board.
Big deal.
That's why we have the people in the colored jackets. We call it Over the Rainbow.
Great, sounds good.
With high-powered people like the Admiral on board, everyone's on edge, especially the guys down in mess.
Are we ready? I was told to fix the ice machine.
The Admiral is expected for dinner any minute now. And it's Mike's job to get the machine working before he arrives. But there's something clogging the pipes. A few minutes later, the machine is fixed. And Mike manages to change his shirt and get behind the serving line just on time.
Good mate. How you doing this evening?
How you doing this evening, Master Chief?
Great.
What can I get for you this evening, Apple? Same thing?
Sweet, sour, and rice, please.
Roger that, sir.
You try some of that sweet and sour too.
Enjoy your meal, sir. Have fun evening.
Thank you.
Growing up, I was always told, if you don't keep your word, if you don't do your job, what else do you have? As long as you do your work, you say you're going to do something, you get done on time. You got a job to do. You're getting paid for it. Why sit around? I've been here that long. Thank you. These people have been doing it their whole lives. So, when they tell me an order, I just follow it, do my job. It's not high school or college. It's, not working at McDonald's. I'm in the military.
It's our last night on the Tortuga. We're pulling into Singapore in the morning. Everyone's busy making plans for their time off in Singapore, but Noel's mind is full of something else.
My birthday was right before he left. He filled his room with 50 balloons and had...
Noel just got married last year, and her husband is also in the Navy. But according to Navy regulations, now that they're married, they can't serve on the same ship.
I really want him here, and the Navy won't let it happen. Because the duties come first before family. And it's something that's really hard, especially if something happens to your family. When you're over here, it's really hard. Because you can't be there to help them. But you know that according to them, serving your country comes first before family. And I know that, but it's still really hard.
After 9 days of open ocean, we wake up completely surrounded. We're in the middle of the Strait of Malacca, sandwiched between Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. It's one of the busiest waterways in the world, carrying 40% of the value of world trade. Those kinds of numbers have made the strait a magnet for piracy, and some say a potential target for terrorists. When we get to Singapore, we'll be flying back to the States. But the sailors on the Tortuga have another 2 months before they get back to their home port in Japan.
My ultimate goal is to be an elementary school art teacher, to have a small family, a dog, 2 kids. We're going to move up to Massachusetts, close to his family, close enough to my family.
Being promoted today from ensign to lieutenant junior grade, ensign, lieutenant junior grade, John Cobb.
Okay, raise your right hands.
What are like the different scenarios for you in 10 years?
I don't know. I really want to go back to grad school, get at least a doctorate.
I take this obligation freely.
I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental.
And do research and eventually teach.
So help me God.
I think I'm gonna go back home. I'm gonna talk to my friends. And they're gonna be like, what'd you do this past year? And they're gonna sit there and be like, you know what, man, we had that same party again, and it was awesome. And they'll be like, what did you do? Oh, I went to Singapore, I went to Thailand, Japan. I live in Japan. Back where I lived, I never met anybody who's ever been to Japan.
It was a simple idea, a story with no news peg, just an itinerary. 6 U.S. military bases in 5 Islamic countries. 11 days on the road with Hello Dave, a rock band from Chicago, so that we could talk to soldiers.
I think y'all's probably close to the first ones, females being in our tent.
Let's ask some question, guys. Where are you from?
I'm from New York.
New York.
Went to school in California, born in Afghanistan.
Where in California did you go to school at?
Berkeley. UC Berkeley.
Ooh, some smart girls here. and you, same thing?
I grew up in Berkeley, then I went to Berkeley.
You grew up in Berkeley, so you're a California girl, huh?
California girl.
I want to back off a little bit in case that thing comes flying out of there.
Welcome to the War Zone Circuit. First stop Djibouti, a country in East Africa that I had never heard of before.
We're stationed at They're probably rebooting the computer. Either that or the power card failed, one of the two.
We're not allowed to name certain bases or tell you what countries they're in. First, the military ground rules. No filming the entrance or perimeter of the base, and no political questions. Other than that, wherever the band went, we went. One of the first things we noticed is that we attract a lot of attention. 1,500 people live at Camp Lemonnier, and it's the only American base in Africa.
How you doing, sir?
U.S. troops arrived here 3 years ago as part of the War on Terror. They do humanitarian and counterterrorism work in surrounding countries.
There's a 3-beer limit, 24-hour period. I probably have about 450 cases of beer, which should last tonight, I hope.
Thank God for the country girls.
Djibouti felt like a party, a very hot party. This is Hello Dave's 8th military tour, and their second time to Djibouti.
Basically, I couldn't tell the difference whether I was completely wet or from ice or sweat. Oh my God.
This is my partner Eliza escaping the heat in the freezer of the cantina. The temperature can reach 140 degrees.
I wish someone would knock some sense, 'cause you know what I need.
Djibouti is probably the best place I've been to in the Middle East. It's just the atmosphere, the people. You know, you have nothing else. You really don't. You have nothing else but all of us and together. You know, one team, one fight.
Melinda is a Navy pilot and the only woman on her flight crew. There are so few women on base that according to our PAO, that's Public Affairs Officer, there's something called the 2-10 rule. On a scale of 1 to 10, a woman who's a 2 in the U.S. is a 10 on deployment.
What's up?
You know, I told my daddy, I was like, Daddy, I'm on a crew with all men. And Dad's like,
You're the cutest thing that I ever did see. I really love your beach is gonna shake your tree.
This is the war zone circuit. The war felt very far away.
Have your bags packed, ready to board the C-130. We're going to...
Our next stop is 1,000 miles northeast across Saudi Arabia. Again, we can't tell you the name of the base, but its nickname is the Taj Mahal. This is the Air Force's main hub in the Middle East. The airmen stationed here, when not laying out or getting an ice cream at the pool's Dairy Queen, fly combat missions over Iraq. A military escort takes the band to the air-conditioned green room backstage.
The VIP room, it's where the strippers come for the generals. It's the champagne room.
We're told marriage is that you're supposed to go in and sacrifice yourself and sacrifice your feelings.
When Hello Dave isn't performing, the band visits local charities, or in this case, the hospital on base, where soldiers injured in Iraq and Afghanistan are sent for minor surgery.
Tonight, will you guys autograph them?
They were popular with the nurses.
The most common surgery that comes down here from the theater is actually hernias.
Cody Barker broke the record for the most hernias the hospital has ever seen.
I had 3 hernias. Yeah, it's from 50 cal, so I'm moving it up and down, all the ammo and stuff. So
Cody's a gunner on a Humvee, stationed south of Baghdad. The gun alone weighs 72 pounds.
And you realize what he does. He's the one with his head sticking out the top.
Getting shot by a sniper. That's my biggest fear.
Has that happened ever?
Oh, we've lost quite a... Yeah, snipers are a big thing over there. Big thing. You hear about it a lot and see it a lot too.
I'm from Texas, the Lone Star State. I love Texas. Texas is the best. No, I'm not married. I'm single. No kids. Absolutely no kids.
The Oasis is an army bar at a base down the road. At night, the club fills with young soldiers flown here from Iraq for R&R. They get 4 days off and 3 beers a night.
I'm from TQ, Iraq. No, negative. I don't miss anything about Iraq. I've been there for too long. I've been there for 3 months already. But we push out all the gear to the Marines that are out there getting into the bad stuff. I just turned 20. Thank you, thank you. This is kind of like my birthday trip for me, kind of. How many beers can I have? Am I going to be able to drink more than 3? I think so.
Soldiers come here fresh from the war zone, not knowing a soul. They're easy to spot.
What up, world?
Basically, you can tell it's the youngest crowd that you're going to find, short haircuts and almost the same t-shirts. A lot of them are out there without any civilian clothes, so the first thing they do is hit the BX and buy the same t-shirt.
All right, let's go. I'm ready. How do you want me to stand? Am I good?
We met an Army photographer who turned 21 the day before he deployed for Iraq.
I'll just be comfortable. I came here in my ACU's Army Combat uniform, full battle rattle.
James never held a gun or a camera before he went to Iraq. Now he uses both.
Right hand for camera, left hand for weapon.
James has been in Iraq taking pictures for the last 6 months. Not everybody gets R&R, and a lot of soldiers pass on it altogether because they'd rather go home sooner. Being here means 4 days of knowing you're safe, but it also means leaving your buddies behind in Iraq, short a man, and left to pick up the slack.
It's just a breather, because you never know what's going to happen out there. We've had some close calls, but so far we've been good to go.
There's nothing good to say. I don't know how recruiters do their thing. It's kind of hard, but they got me. They got me in America.
I just had to get away from stuff, you know what I'm saying? Stuff at home ain't too good, so. Like my mom said, either you die quicker here than you would being in the Army going to Iraq.
Well,
both from Missouri, so we bought a little grill and we go out and barbecue and drink our non-alcoholic beer and, you know, smoke our cigarettes, just, you know, a little piece of home.
This soldier may have one of the worst jobs in Iraq. What everyone fears, he seeks out.
I run IED sweeps. We run out of Baghdad and go south for about 120 miles, and we come back north. We've been here for about 7.5 months. Got another 4.5 before we go home. I remember I was in high school and I was in my sophomore Algebra 2 class. We were sitting in class whenever the news came on about September 11th when the two towers got hit. And until then, you know, I hadn't really thought much about the military, and whenever that happened, I was like, you know, that's something I want to do. And ever since, you know, a soldier has been my dream. You know, ever since that day, that's all I wanted to do.
We ran into Cody later. After he recovers, he'll return to Iraq. He had some advice for anyone thinking of following in his footsteps.
If they want to serve their country and if they're doing it for the right reasons, go ahead. But if you're just trying to do it just to be a badass or something like that, don't.
It's the last night at this location and the band is rehearsing. That's when we met Jason, who had to make do with the sound check because he wasn't going to be here for the concert.
Yeah, I'm down here on R&R from Afghanistan for 2 days. I'm still kind of on edge. Loud bangs and noises, you jump a little bit.
I'm a very simple man.
R&R is a sudden change in reality. That's not always easy for them.
A lot of things that stick with you that you never forget. The first time you're shot at, the first person you have to shoot at, I guess you could say. I don't know. RPGs, mortars. I think the thing that'll stick with me the most out of this experience was my first IED. I just remember this loud, just boom, and your ears go, you know, started ringing, and it was there. You felt this warm air, and it just sucked all the breath out of your lungs. And it's hard to explain it until you've been there, you know, to understand. But it's just, I think it's something that I'll never forget.
Give me the people as it free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. Yeah!
A lot of people have forgotten we're still fighting a war in Afghanistan. Though it's not in the headlines every day, it's like old news. And I mean, we have just as much going on there as it is in Iraq. We're going back. It sucks. That was my own personal concert. I feel special. Something before I go back to hell. C-17. C-17 straight shots, 3 hour, 15-minute flight. It's a long flight back. It's just a lot longer than coming here, trust me. Frank out. Y'all take care. Yeah, do it, man.
We're headed to a small camp on the border between Iraq and Kuwait.
It's the last stop before the trucks cross the border to go to Iraq.
We're going north on what's known here as the Highway of Death. This road got its name at the end of the last Gulf War, when American forces decimated Iraqi troops as they tried to retreat from Kuwait. It goes all the way to Baghdad.
The archway right up here is the border. The border of Iraq and Kuwait.
I'm looking at the Iraq border. It's about a quarter of a mile to my west. Straight ahead.
Camp Navistar is made up mostly of National Guardsmen from Wisconsin. They protect trucks carrying supplies north into the war zone. It's Father's Day, our last day with the band.
The triangle of death because of the frequent attacks on U.S. and Iraqi forces there. It's unclear exactly what happened.
The audience is older because they're National Guard. They're also more sober, partly because in Kuwait, they're only allowed to drink non-alcoholic beer. But also because of what they've seen.
It's an audience that's been there and done that up north. They've seen a lot of things, experienced a lot of things that a lot of soldiers stationed in Kuwait maybe haven't, but a lot of people back in the States maybe don't understand or haven't experienced at all. We're clear now. We're good. It says, "Dear Daddy, I'm going to tell you about all of the stuff happening. Mason is walking in shoes now. Oh my gosh, she is walking so fast. Mommy got a..."
The only way for us to get closer to the war was to cross the border. One of the officers asked us if we wanted to go into Iraq, so that we could say we'd been there. We said no, because of what Cody had told us. We didn't want to do it just to be badasses.
This is Kyrgyzstan. Not Kurdistan, the Iraqi province. Not Kazakhstan, the oil-rich country to the north. Kyrgyzstan, a small and obscure former republic of the Soviet Union. It's been independent since the early 90s. The global war on terror has taken U.S. troops to places most Americans have never heard of, let alone been to. It's also taken reporters far from home, including me. Though in my case, it's hard to say where home is. I was born in the Soviet Union and moved to the U.S. when I was a kid. And that's Patrick, my partner. He grew up in Nebraska. He's as far from home as the rest of the people on this base.
Unescorted, right?
It's called the Manas Air Base. Everything and everyone that the U.S. sends to Afghanistan comes through here. Last year, planes that took off from Manas carried 59,000 tons of gear and 60 million pounds of fuel. They also brought over 100,000 troops to and from the war, or what everyone here calls downrange.
Were you downrange?
Yeah, in Bagram, Afghanistan.
Yeah, how was it?
It's a beautiful country.
Did you say that without irony?
Yeah. I don't even know if you'd consider it a third world country. I've been to Haiti, and I think Bagram was Afghanistan was worse.
Manas has been here since the war in Afghanistan started. Just 3 months after 9/11, U.S. forces pitched a few tents at an old airport outside Bishkek, the Kyrgyz capital. Their job? To support Operation Enduring Freedom. 5 years later, the base is still here, but the airmen could pick up and leave in a matter of weeks. Manas is a perfect example of the Pentagon's new strategy of projecting American power. As an expeditionary base, it's here for the war in Afghanistan. But if the war changes, or if local politics shift, it could go somewhere else.
Could we do it without Manas? Well, we'd find a way, certainly. If it becomes necessary, we will find a way.
But for now, the base is here. It's a long way from home, but they try.
This is Shooters. This is a recreation center that has a lot to offer for our folks. People can check out movies, just kind of relax a little bit.
Unlike older, more established bases like ones in Korea and Germany, the troops here are only allowed off-base, unsupervised excursions. Some are still surprised to be here at all.
You know, in the span of my Air Force career, to go from this being a Soviet Union-occupied territory to now being a coalition partner for us to do our operations, it's just absolutely remarkable.
Kyrgyzstan is a strange place. It feels like the outer reaches of an empire, but the question is, which empire? It shares no borders with Russia, but most people speak Russian. Many here look Chinese, and the main religion is Islam.
Mosque field there.
Chief of Security Major Mark Anarumo and his troops patrol the base's perimeters. Anarumo is as in tune with the local culture as anyone on this base.
Like sometimes we go to a meeting and they expect you to drink with them, and if you don't, they don't trust you. So I've had vodka with my morning omelet.
Kyrgyz politics are unstable. Last year, the old president was ousted in a coup nearly overnight. And this spring, demonstrators in Bishkek nearly ended the rule of the new president.
But those demonstrations, they stayed peaceful, so we never had a spillover here. But if the topic was ever the American presence, we're pretty sure that it would want to come in this way.
Some of Anarumo's security forces come to the nearby towns on their days off as volunteers. As far as mixing with locals, this is about as far as it goes.
I have 4 kids at home. A lot of our guys have kids at home, so doing something like a playground project, it's very therapeutic, you know.
Papa.
Papa da. Yeah. That's what I get, Papa Anarumo.
There's a disconnect here. Maybe it's the language barrier. Maybe it's because most airmen only stay for 4 months at a time. And maybe it's because people here still miss the old guard.
У нас здесь был памятник Карла Марксу, и в одну из прекрасных ночей, значит, он исчез в неизвестном направлении.
Galina Tereshchuk is mayor of the town where the troops built the playground. She showed us old photos of how things used to be. One of them was of veterans who fought in the devastating Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. That war lasted most of the 80s and killed over 1 million people.
Производство наше, в общем, достаточно было богатое, чтобы помочь и обмундированием, и питанием. Мы в состоянии были любому помочь. А сегодня мы, как говорится, с протянутой рукой стоим.
Americans on base pride themselves on hiring and buying locally.
Спасибо. Well, today we got some very important stuff. We got toilet seats.
Those toilet seats weren't expensive like those ones from the Pentagon a few years ago, were they?
Last spring, the Kyrgyz president decided to raise the rent on the Manas base. And he didn't just ask for more. He asked for 100 times more. $207 million per year. 4 months later, when we were on base, a new rent deal still hadn't been struck. But for airmen and building contractors, it was business as usual.
The political issue that's going on, are we going to stay or are we going to leave with this location, is kind of a temporary thing.
One of the buildings that's in the works is a passenger concourse.
So you can take a busload of troops, you can drop them off right here at the front door.
Army troops stay in this big tent where we met Garrett Napier, a National Guardsman from Oklahoma, waiting for a flight to Afghanistan.
Should I ask you what you're most afraid of, or is that something you'd rather not think about?
It's something you don't like to think about, but you have to think about it. Now, I don't want to get killed or come back less than what I left, you know. But that's just a part of the job.
We don't just look at them like Army. I mean, they're just a bunch of Army guys, but there's probably a good chance that they're not all going to come back the same way. And
the next morning, Specialist Napier was on his way to Afghanistan. And we were on our way downrange too. We were about to see the War on Terror, Air Force style.
We'll be sitting right back there, and you'll be able to look out that window and these windows right here. That's what we're going to look through.
Just past the border of Uzbekistan and Tajikistan.
We went on a refueling mission in this KC-135. Originally built in 1958 for the Cold War, it's still making its rounds as a flying gas station. For an hour and a half, we coasted over the Pamir Mountains, then over the massive U.S. base in Bagram, and over Kabul. This was as close as we would get to the war. Then our mission, a B-1 bomber, slid in behind our plane for refueling. After filling up, the B-1 was gone as quickly as it had appeared. Less than 1% of the Air Force are actually pilots. They're the ones who get to see the war from this vantage. Back on the ground, Afghanistan felt far away, until we went to a hidden corner of the base.
This is the mortuary, where we will receive fallen warriors. Typically, they are casualties from Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. All of these boxes are flags. Most will arrive draped with a flag. We have these in case they don't. In the 6 weeks that I have been here, we have had quite a few. There has not been a week yet that we have not had a casualty come to us from Afghanistan.
I remind our guys all the time, our brothers and sisters are in much hairier places than this.
Manas is the only base that's part of Operation Enduring Freedom where you can have a drink. 2 drinks, actually. Pete's Place is named for a New York City fire captain who died during 9/11. It's also the place for some patriotic karaoke. Though Manas is an integral part of the war in Afghanistan, people here still long for the downrange experience.
The first 3 weeks I was here, I really felt guilty because I knew security forces guys everywhere were getting shot at, they were getting mortared. They were really in the middle of everything, and here we sit, and it's fairly quiet compared to the other bases.
When we came to Manas, we knew we'd hear a lot about the global war on terror, but we thought we'd also hear about its strategic importance. Kyrgyzstan is right between Russia and China. It's also not far from 2 nuclear powers, India and Iran. Plus, the whole Central Asian region is flush with oil. But airmen aren't diplomats. They don't worry about grand policy. They're really just focused on the mission at hand.
It's easy to make a link, why we're here and what's going on in Afghanistan. It's very direct.
In July, Kyrgyz and American officials signed a deal allowing U.S. forces to stay at Manas as long as the war in Afghanistan continues. The price tag? $20 million a year. Major Anarumo finished the playground he built with his troops and celebrated its opening with the local mayors. But he won't be here for long. When he gets back to his native New Jersey, he'll be teaching a college course on security after 9/11. He'll have to talk about new lighter bases like Manas. Bases designed, at least in theory, to be here today and gone tomorrow.